There's really no nice way to say this. I'm shoveling poop. I have found that horses do two things really well. They eat and they poop. And all that poop's got to go somewhere. Today's lesson is, where does all the poop go? This is in chapter 22. You will need to know this information. It is very important in your life. Nobody wants poop laying around. In addition, you need to keep in mind the lessons we've learned from other chapters. You need to learn about the nitrogen cycle, or review it if you haven't in a little bit. You need to learn about what nitrates are needed for. You need to go back and remind yourself why we need to recycle nitrates. Meanwhile, I'm still shoveling poop. As you continue through chapter 22, and you're working through the section on conservationism, it might be tempting to skip that part that might be disgusting to you, but don't do it. You need to keep in mind your curriculum goals. You may think I'm messing with you about this topic, but look, you can see right here, you are supposed to be able to outline how sewage is treated to make the water that it contains safe to put back into the environment, for human use. In other words, what do we do with all that poop? And this is the poop. My personal project is to compost every bit of this poop in the next 6 to 8 months. All right, let's remind ourselves what is valuable in this waste product and why it needs to be recycled. I'm not trying to be overly critical here, but nearly everyone in the class missed this question about why do we need to recycle nitrogen? Yeah, the nitrogen in the air is not usable by most organisms and has to be fixed to be used. But why not just keep it fixed? Why not don't return it back to the atmosphere? The fact is that too much nitrogen in the form of nitrate compounds can be poisonous to both plants and animals, and it pollutes our streams. We need to recycle it. Which brings us back to poop. Sewage is waste liquid, which comes from all over our homes, towns, and cities. Of course, it doesn't just contain waste water. It also has in it toilet paper, detergents, oils, chemicals, urine, and, you guessed it, feces or poo. This should not be allowed to just go into our streams and rivers because it's harmful. It needs to be treated first. Looking at figure 22.29, you see an example of how sewage is treated. First, a screen will trap all the large objects. The smaller particles and the liquid pass on to what's called a settlement tank, and that does exactly what it sounds like it does. It allows the insoluble particles that are left in that water to settle down to the bottom. The text explains that the liquid that is now left over can be treated one of two ways. Had enough yet? We're just getting started. The liquid from that settlement tank can then be placed in what's called a trickling filter bed. Now, in this trickling filter bed, there are microorganisms, decomposers, living there that feed on the nutrients left over in the sewage water. By sending the water slowly through this, it gives organisms time to fully remove all the pathogenic stuff, and that water can then be returned back to the environment. Don't like that method? The second way the sewage water can be treated has the best name ever. It's called activated sludge, and this one appears to be much more complicated. But It's simple. The word activated in this context means there are microorganisms present ready to eat any nutrients found left in the sewage water. This allows the water to become safe again. In both cases, there will be a semi-solid sludge left over. This material has value. They don't want to waste it, and neither do I. Some of that sludge is used to produce fuel such as methane. Other solids can be used as a fertilizer. And now we're back to my compost pile. In this pile of manure, there are bacteria that do the work of breaking this stuff down into usable materials. Those bacteria need air, moisture, and something like nitrates or carbon. That would be like the manure and the straw. Those are in high abundance in this. To really work, the pile has to be turned over so that the outside parts get to the middle and the inside parts get out to the air. You make these long piles called windrows in an area that drains well and has a slight slope to it. Grass needs to be planted at the end of the downhill part of the composting area so that any water that runs off of these windrows soaks right back into the grassy land. I have all that in place. So according to my information, this manure will be able to be used on my fields in 4 to 6 months. However, I always wait at least 8 to 12 months before using to make sure that it's fully composted. Now that is enough about that subject. If you have questions, email me and I'll get back to you right away. Right now, I think I want to go wash my hands. See you later.